Welcome to TopBranch, a series from the Dove Agency, where we're rooted in stability and reaching for growth. Join the Dove Agency and our special guests as we bring you expert insights and practical solutions to help your interior design business thrive. This is TopBranch. Let's grow together.
Hi everyone, we're back with another episode of TopBranch. I'm Ruth Ann Jansen.
I'm Beth Bender.
We're so glad to have you here again today. Today we are going to talk about the topic of vendor management. It's kind of a broad topic, but we actually were in a meeting this morning. We had another topic scheduled and we were in a meeting this morning and one of our clients asked the question, what is a typical number of vendors that a designer has? And we
kind of stopped. We're like,
yeah, exactly, because we have seen it handled so differently. Some of our designers hone in and really just work with a select 5 or 6 vendors and really keep that list tight for a variety of reasons. And then some of them have literally hundreds of vendors that they work with. So we're going to kind of delve into that and then just some of the mechanics around this very important function of managing your vendors. So a couple things I want to list to start off with are things that you should be considering with regard to your vendors. And one of those is sort of keeping track, and there's a variety of ways to do this, how much of a discount you're getting from that vendor. So that's obviously important to know, as well as, considering your markup, how much you're making, your profit is on the sale of that item. So those are obviously very important things to keep track of in terms of your company's profitability. The other thing to kind of understand is, how much volume are you doing with a particular vendor? And we always like to say, not just the total number, but in terms of that total, the specifics, like the lighting is X, the rugs are Y, what have you, so that you know all of that data in terms of that vendor, that overall vendor number. And then a couple sort of more, I would call like intangibles, which are what is kind of the satisfaction with that vendor in terms of the relationship with them, kind of how they treat you, your team. What's the quality of their product, their process when there's damages or problems, kind of what's that overall satisfaction level with the vendor. And then I probably should have mentioned this before that, which is how are you determining that vendor is sort of approved? Like, what is your process internally to decide, yes, I want to work with this vendor, and what's the reasoning behind that?
Right. I think so many times when you start with your business, you think to yourself, I got to go get all these vendor relationships established from day one. And we've seen that. We've seen clients that have come that are starting new businesses and they think that they've got to build out this huge vendor list. And that's not true. I mean, you're much better off kind of honing in on a simple list of vendors that you build deep relationships with them. And so hey, when do they have their promotions? When do they have, extra discounts for, certain items or et cetera, so that you can take advantage of that. And building out that relationship, those vendor reps, they want to have that relationship with their clients. And they're not looking at a small designer and saying, hey, you're really not on my radar because you're small. They are so well equipped to handle both the smaller, designer as well as the large firms. And you see that when you go and you find a vendor with a trade program. It's kind of difficult to honestly set up those trade programs. And so if they're going to do that, they're excited to work with you. So I think that looking through your vendor list and knowing, okay, these are the ones that have an established trade program. They know how to handle designers. They have the discretion also of not having their items just all over the internet, where you get stuck in a situation where somebody can find your product that you're trying to sell to them for a lot less expensive. So that's number one, is those relationships, and you're honing in and you're understanding their trade program. And number two, those vendors that you choose to form that relationship with, that should be an ongoing conversation. And there is a difference between working with a multi-line showroom versus necessarily a trade vendor of a single line. I think that going with those multi-line showrooms is great if your firm is appreciating the service that comes along with that, the procurement that comes along with that. There's some intangibles that you get with those multi-line showrooms that can really add to your efficiency as a firm. But if you have a larger firm and you really have kind of built that in-house, then you need to be really thinking about, okay, I need to go form those relationships at High Point or at Dallas Market or wherever to understand, or or New York or whatever, to figure out how to get those relationships to where you can buy directly from the line. And
what do you think about, we were talking about this with our client this morning about, sometimes these kind of unvetted vendors show up on Instagram, and junior designers are coming to the owner like, I want to buy this rug from XYZ vendor. What kind of process could there be around these lesser known vendors? Because there are these kind of diamonds in the rough and these beautiful treasures that you can find that other, maybe other designers don't have in their wheelhouse, if you will. What's kind of around these really small vendors, and how to decide if those are worthy of adding into your vendor list in your workflow?
Right. Well, if you're the business owner and you do have a lot of designers working within your company, you need to have a process set up ahead of time so that when they find these smaller vendors, they're not just ordering from them without having gone through, as we said earlier, that process of vetting these vendors. And again, the best vetting is, do they have an established trade program? If they don't, you're putting yourself in a really difficult position, because somebody might easily be able to go online, especially now with Google Images, and find that item. So you need to number one, vet that. Number two, when you find that vendor, it's going to be really important that you establish up front what is, number one, your discount, but with the volume that you could be buying from them, are they going to eventually give you a bigger discount? With those smaller vendors, you can do a lot more negotiation for your firm than you can necessarily with some of the bigger lines. So artists are a great thing to go and find artists that are, really going to be unique to your projects, can be a great resource for you. But you need to have a way of tracking them and knowing, hey, if I do this much volume with you, and kind of establishing that up front.
Yeah. And I think too, just keeping in mind, like Beth said, these efficiencies that can be found with these multi-line showrooms is in terms of, that's an efficiency with working with them, but also your procurement hours can be less. Like there's a whole bunch of different things on your side that can be much lower when you're just working with these with a very few little tight list of vendors.
Right. And one other thing, if you're going to go and you're going to find that, okay, for example, upholstery, you trust that this upholsterer is always going to be, a win. It's always going to be a win. There's no question. You're like, that it ships on time, it's quality. I know that it's good product. Go ahead and say, with your firm, hey, listen, these are the 2 or 3 upholsterers that we as a firm work with. These are the 2 or 3 companies that are going to be the ones that we use for our case goods, etc. And then allow yourself some freedom and some creativity to go out there and find all those little vendors when it comes to the art or the accessories, or some of the smaller accent pieces that are going to be in your projects. But be careful about having this wide range of what I would say are kind of your core vendors, because it's going to be very hard to keep up.
It's kind of the wild
west. It's going to be very hard to keep up with that many.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up, and it's hard to, like we said at the beginning, the things you should be tracking is what kind of discount you're getting, what's your volume with them, what's your satisfaction with the overall kind of the relationship, and then what's your approval process. And if you're doing that, whether you're doing it in a system generated report, depending on what system you're in Excel, what have you, but the more vendors you have, the harder it is to keep up with all of that data.
And the emails. I mean, the emails that you're getting from the reps, because again, they're out there, they want to serve you, they want to have a good relationship with you. It's going to be very, very hard to keep up with that many relationships.
Yeah. That's good. I think we're closing. We're trying to keep these short and sweet. And we are going to end with our signature quote. And this one has to do around, kind of the idea of keeping it simple with your vendors, but also having that data behind them to support the decisions that you need to make about your business. So this is from Albert Einstein.
He was smart.
He kind of, yeah. And it is, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler.
There you go.
There we
It's
go.
a great one to end with.
See you
All right.
guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
The Dove Agency is committed to services that ensure your financial stability and growth. As part of our dedication to the design industry, we present ID Nest, a powerful software solution for designers. Built by industry experts, it integrates financial insights, project and task management, time tracking, CRM and marketing tools to streamline workflow and power your designs. Join us next time on TopBranch. And in the meantime, to learn more, visit idnest.com.